everyone. My name is Brittney, and I just would like to share a story with you. And it's truly a story of God's love. Like many young adults or teenagers from my neighborhood or from my environment where I grew up, we kind of all experience some of the same parallels that goes on in that neighborhood, which is teen pregnancy is what's most prominent, having a fatherless household and typically being raised by our grandmothers. And so what I would just like to share is just a bit about the love that God has shown me in my life. So growing up, like I said, experienced, I was raised by my grandmother, and I actually got pregnant at the young age of 13. So yes, I was a teenage mother. And that in itself just completely changed and completely shifted, everything that I thought that I knew in my life at that time. And so God's love was always present in my life, just in the things that I would notice, like, just recognizing the environment that I was in and knowing, like there was a knowing that I needed to be better or I needed to do better for my child, or that's not an environment that I would, like to raise my child in. And so I actually had my child by seventh grade, I believe, in seventh grade. So from seventh grade on up, I was a mom, and I, like I said, was raised by my grandmother, and I had always grew up knowing this one guy, this one man as to being my dad, but he was, never in the picture. I would see him on account of something, maybe like one every 2 or 3 years or something like that. So he was never around in my life. So dealing with, having a baby at a young age and truly my life shifting at that point, I kind of fell into the typical situations that a young girl would fall into, not, having high self-esteem or anything of that nature, and just doing some things that kind of were not on the good track. But like I said, God always showed up in my life and kind of gave me a new mind and kind of led me throughout these different situations. And so fast forward to my young adulthood, like in high school, let me just say, I was very ashamed to have a child at such a young age. The people that I grew up with kind of knew that I had a child, but, I went to school away from the area that I lived in. So what I was dealing with is kind of, during the day I would be a typical high school student, but after the fact, like, I was a mom, so no one ever knew that parallel in my life. But, the things at school, like pep rallies and all that, like I wasn't thinking about what everybody else was thinking about. Like I was thinking about making doctor's appointments and different things like that. But I just wanted to share a bit of who I am and kind of the things that God has transcended me through now to this point. Now in college, and I lost my grandmother a couple of years ago, who, like I stated before, who raised me. And it was during that time that God spoke to me the loudest, I would say. After a series of events happened, it kind of came to a forefront that the guy who I knew to be my father all my life could possibly not be my father anymore, and that this new guy who was supposed to be my father, he was actually incarcerated. And so I had never seen him in my life. I had heard about him throughout my life. Like growing up, it was very confusing to have, just random people, I guess, that knew my mother and my father at a young age say, hey, you look like, they called him Little Al at the time, like, you look like Little Al, you look like him. And I would just be like, I don't know who that is, but I know who my dad is, and never took account to it. But fast forward to losing my grandmother, I had an uncle who kind of brung about the conversation that, I know who your father is. You look like him, and I think that this is a conversation that needs to be had, basically. So after, a series of events, I actually looked up, like I said, he was incarcerated. I looked up on the Department of Corrections website and actually found who this person was that they were telling me that my father, who my father was. And immediately when seeing that picture, like, I knew that was my father. Like, I knew that I looked exactly like him, and I'm like, okay. I knew. And so what happened was I actually sent in a letter to him, and I think the first letter was something like, hey, my name is Brittney, and I've heard all my life that you were my father, but I don't know. I know this may sound crazy or weird, but, that was kind of that situation that happened down. Well, no less than 2 days later, he responded back and told me, I am your father, and in fact, I know you, and you're mine. And so November 2nd, 2013 is when I actually met my dad, Alvin Williams, for the first time. Out of my 23 years of life, I met him for the first time. And God truly brought us to this point in getting to know each other. The fact that I had known him for 23 years before, it doesn't even account anymore because of who he is in my life. And I lost my grandmother, but I got another angel here on earth, which is my father. And so I wanted to share with you guys just a bit about my dad. Like I said, we have known each other less than a year now, but he has, always known for me. He said he always prayed for me, and that's one thing that I know to be true, because throughout my life, God always supplied like everything that I needed. His love like never failed me. So I know that it was truly God's love that brought me to my dad. And so I go visit him about every week or every other week. And what I just like to say, and there's going to be more videos to come. I'm sorry if it feels to be a rush, but I'm just so excited I can't help myself. But first off, I would just like to embrace any support, any prayers in the matter, because the thing is, now that we've been put here together on this earth now, we still face the challenge of him being, he's incarcerated, and, we strongly believe that he was wrongfully convicted. And so I just wanted to share that if there's any counsel, if there's any advice that you guys would like to share with me or pray for us, you guys can email to FreeAlvinWilliamsAR at gmail.com. And we would definitely love any prayers, any support, any support of that matter. But there's going to be more videos to come, and I get to share with you exactly who my father is, because he's a phenomenal man of God, and he's a phenomenal father. And I can be first to attest to you that the physical joining of two people, of the love, like, it doesn't account for the actual connection that love has. So although we're physically not, able to see each other when we like, the love that he has for me and the love that I have for him, it definitely just surpasses the fact that he's even incarcerated. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and please, if you have any questions, anything you'd like to say, you can email to FreeAlvinWilliamsAR at gmail.com.